Well, you're one of my favorite filmmakers. I've gone through this list and really had forgotten that you had done a lot of these films.
That's what happens.
And you probably forgot that you've done some of these films, as a matter of fact. Is there any topic that you really haven't explored yet? I mean, you've gone the justice system, politics, network television, just about every kind of social issue I could think of. Is there anything left?
Oh, an awful lot. Westerns, wild farce comedies. I'm one of those people who like
Never done a Western?
No, never.
It's hard to do those now.
Oh, boy. The thing is, I always think it's healthiest when there's every kind of movie around. I mean, it'd be very boring if it were only my kind of movie, and boy, am I bored when there's only Rambo around. So I'd like to see it all. I wish musicals had come back. I know they're awfully expensive now, but boy, we did some great musicals in this country. And I was delighted about Roger Rabbit coming out because I've always loved animation. And that's something we haven't seen for a long time.
That's probably a one-in-a-lifetime film, too, because of money.
Maybe. Dick Williams, you know, who's the man who did the actual drawing of Roger Rabbit and did all of the animations. I know him very well, and he's a bit of a genius, that fellow. An American guy, works in London a lot, and his office is in London. He has been for 25 years, and I've seen parts of the film, working on this one animated feature. It's cost him, and what he does a commercial, or he does Roger Rabbit.
And then does a little bit more.
And then he does a little bit more. And he already has put over $15 million. And this is his own money. This isn't studio money. That the profits of his company just keep going back to completing this movie. He needs about another $25 million to complete it. But in the footage that I've seen 4 reels of it. And it, I think, is the most brilliant animated film I've ever seen in my life.
Are you a fan of movies? Now, some directors I don't think go to a lot of movies.
No, I go to them all the time, and I don't like to go too much in screening rooms. I go mostly to theaters. Yeah.
Of all these films, I have a couple of favorites. Failsafe, and I enjoy watching a young Larry Hagman back in those days.
I'm delighted because a lot of people have mentioned Failsafe to me recently. It was not particularly successful when it opened. It did pretty well, but no great shakes. And I'm glad to see that it still has some sort of relevance and meaning for anybody.
How about where does Network stand in your heart? I guess you got an Academy Award for that.
Nomination.
Nomination.
Yeah.
It got a lot of nominations and awards. How does that rank in your book of lists? I mean,
very high. You're getting me going on something that I don't like to talk about, which is I don't like to rank the movies because.
Yeah, I know that's hard. They're all like children, right? It's like saying which is my favorite child.
Well, yeah, you're making orphans of the ones that you don't mention.
Right.
But Network is special. Probably, for me at least, written by the most brilliant, funny writer that America's produced, Patty Chayefsky, and that cast was a glory.
In this new film, Running on Empty, it's very timely in with this Dan Quayle controversy that's going on. I think there's going to be a lot more of that to come, of people making mistakes in the 60s, and then people go back in the record books and say, you did that in 1968 or 1967, so your timing is certainly right on in this case.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the people in Running on Empty certainly did it with the best of intentions. We'll have to see whether that's true of Mr. Quayle.
How do you feel about these people? I mean, what was your attitude toward, I presume these may have been real people, although it's a fiction story, but I can see that this could have happened or did happen.
It could have happened. It's bits and composites of a lot of different stories, you know, the usual thing that writers draw from. I have mixed feelings. I'm thrilled that those people did what they did, which was enormous, which was to stop a war and not have to overthrow a government, which is, I think, maybe the first time in history that that's happened, that through protest and the use of democratic means, things that they were allowed, assembly, speech, and so on, created enough of a movement to stop a war, which is enormous. On the other hand, there's a kind of childish romanticism about it, which I think prevented a great many of them from keeping their lives politically active. I'm a great believer in that. I think wherever you are on the political spectrum, do it.
Do you think the children of the 60s, and I'm one of those, will have to pay a pretty high price for some of the things they did? I mean, drug usage, in some cases violence on a campus, protesting when their records go up and they try to do what Dan Quayle is doing right now, become vice president or maybe even someday president of the United States? You think it's going to come back to haunt them?
Everything comes back to haunt you. That's the point of the movie. That there's a consequence to this action and to that action. It doesn't make any difference. The movie is specifically about the fact that if passion is involved, if you're committed to something, if you work on it, if it becomes your life, it's not just going to affect you, your kids, your parents. It's an ever-widening circle. It's the stone in the middle of the pond, and those ripples never stop.
Since you have been in the business long enough and been very successful, I'm sure you're asked for advice. Do you ever try to give any advice, or what do you say to young actors who are coming along today? Go raise produce, or go to another job, or what?
No, because as I said, I'm a big believer in passion and commitment to something. But what I do try to say to them, and to people who want to be directors, because as you know, the film schools are filled to overflowing, more of them every year, is that it's almost impossible. Do it. But boy, try to get a realistic perspective on what you're getting into.
It's very hard for them to do, though, 20 years old.
Very hard, and yet the thing that makes it very hard for them is the best part of them, because it is their vision, it is their hope, and that's what keeps driving them, and that's great.
But you have to want it 180%.
And interestingly enough, for me, if you don't make it, you're not going to get hurt by the experience of trying that hard.
That's true. Well, thank you a lot, and congratulations on all the great films you've done.
Thank you.
All right.